Hello all, in this video I would be talking about how do organisms reproduce. So in this video I would be covering asexual reproduction and their types. So let's start with the video. So I would be giving you the introduction of chapter how do organisms reproduce. So in this first you should know what reproduction is. So reproduction is the process by which living organisms produce new individuals similar to themselves. Now, why reproduction is important? The second point is why reproduction is important is because it ensures continuity of life on Earth. Now, we need to know why variations are important in human beings and all the living things. So variations actually help the species to withstand drastic environmental changes, thus save the species from being extinct and promotes its survival for a long time. So we discussed what is reproduction and why reproduction. The third thing is variation. Why variation is important within living system. So in this, first is reproduction. So you can write in that reproduction is the process by which living organisms produce new individuals similar to themselves. Why reproduction? Because it ensures the continuity of life on Earth. Then why variation? Variation actually helps in the species to withstand drastic environmental changes, thus save the species from becoming extinct and promotes its survival for a longer time. So these are the important points for the starting. So let's start with types of reproduction. Now we know we have two types of reproduction, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So in asexual reproduction, a single parent is involved. In sexual reproduction, both parents are involved. So the first difference is you can write in asexual, a single parent is involved. Whereas in case of sexual reproduction, you have to write two parents are involved. Now in the second one, you can write gametes not formed. In asexual reproduction, there are no gametes. Gametes are not formed. Whereas in the case of sexual reproduction, gametes are formed. Now differentiating third one. So in that you can write progeny is identical, or you can write offspring is identical to the parent. Offspring, or you can write progeny is identical to parent. Whereas in case of sexual reproduction, you have to write that progeny is genetically similar to the parent but not identical. Offspring is similar to parent genetically, but not identical. So this is what you should know in reproduction. In case of asexual reproduction, we have a single parent is involved there. In sexual reproduction, both parents are involved. In second, gametes are not formed in case of asexual, and sexual gametes are formed. And third one, offspring is identical to parent, whereas in case of sexual reproduction, offspring is similar to parent genetically but not identically. Now we have modes of asexual reproduction. The mode depends on the body design of the organism. The first one we need to study is fission. So it has two different types of fission involved. First of all, you should know what fission is. So for that, you can write the parent cell divides into two daughter cell is known as fission. Now we have two different types of fission, that is binary fission and multiple fission. In case of binary fission, as you can see in figure 1, amoeba elongates to form two daughter cells. Whenever we have two daughter cells, it is under binary fission. And in the second case, that is the case of Plasmodium, it is multiple fission. So in multiple fission, you can see we have multiple cells there. So you can see that one parent cell divides into many daughter cells simultaneously. So that is under Plasmodium. And binary fission is in amoeba. So remember this, that in binary fission we have example of amoeba, whereas in multiple fission you have example of Plasmodium. So this is all about fission. Now moving on to budding. When we talk about budding, so you can see there is a bud that is there on a yeast body. This is bud. Bud is actually develops as an outgrowth on a parent body due to repeated cell division. So if there would be repeated cell division at a specific site, there will be a bud. Now, as you can see, the nucleus elongates to form two nucleus here, one for parent and another one for offspring. And as soon as this bud matures, it gets detaches from the parent cell. So that's how the process of budding is. So you can remember two examples under this. One is Hydra and another one is yeast. So two examples under budding is Hydra and yeast. Next is spore formation. So in this you can see we have one example of sporangium here. So spores which are present in sporangia are small bulb-like structure which are covered by thick walls that protect them until they come in contact with suitable condition. As soon as they come in contact with suitable condition, this layer gets detached from the parent body and these spores likely to be spread, and as soon as they come under suitable condition they will germinate and produce new rhizopus individually. The another name for sporangium is rhizopus. So in this case one example is of rhizopus you can write. Next, moving on to fragmentation. So fragmentation is considered to be the accidental process when the broken pieces of an organism, or you can write fragments, grows into a complete organism. So as you can see, we have a complete body of Spirogyra here. In this you can write example of Spirogyra. So Spirogyra gets divided into different parts, and these different parts in again gets a full body like structure as the parent cell has. So they gets converted into a complete organism as soon as they get complete nutrition. So this type of process occurs in multicellular organism with simple body organization. So you must remember one example is of Spirogyra, and that they gets converted into fragments, and these fragments get grows into a complete organism as their parent cell are. Now moving on to regeneration. In this case you can see one example is there of planaria. So planaria, or you can even do in the case of Hydra. So when these simple animals like Hydra and planaria develop a new individual from their broken older part, it is known as regeneration. So as you can see in this figure, if we cut this parent planaria like this, it will grow into a whole body again, like a new cell is grown. So in this case, it is carried out by some specialized cells which divide and differentiate to form complete individual again. So these cells multiply, and from this mass of the cells, other parts are generated, and this organization is known as Regeneration. So in this case, if you cut planaria from any part, they will be regrown. And why they are regrown? Because they have some specialized tissues or cells which divide and differentiate to form again a complete individual. Now moving on to the next part. In this case, you can write examples of hydra and planaria. Next is vegetative propagation. So in this is the mode of reproduction again, in which reproduction takes place from the vegetative parts. So in this case, the reproduction is from vegetative parts. Now vegetative parts are namely stem, roots and leaves. So if reproduction takes place from vegetative parts, then it will be vegetative propagation. Now, it could be from stem, it could be from root, it could be from leaves. Now, as you can see in the below diagram, you can see that they have cut a part of a plant from a parent plant and sow that into a new soil. And there we will have a new plant, or you can say a new offspring will be there from this plant. Like how this is actually an artificial method, like in this case we are cutting a part of a plant and sowing that part into a new sand, and there we have a new plant. So it is a very quick method. This one is the artificial one. By using grafting, cutting and layering, we make new plants from this method of vegetative propagation. Now we have some natural vegetative propagation as well. In the case of root, stems and leaves. So in roots, like in this case, in the A part you can see we have potato. This is by stem. This is by stem. In roots we have stem like potato. Tubers are there, or you can say eyes are there. Germinating eye buds are there. So these are by stem. In the second one you can see again a ginger is there. So in this case again we have adventitious roots. So this is the method by roots. In the fourth part you can see this is the example of bryophyllum. So in this case you can write by leaves. So by leaves we have a new offspring, like you can see in this case. Some adventitious birds are there in this case. So new plants are grown from leaves in this case. In case of roots, you can see ginger is there, adventitious roots are there. By stem in the case of potato. So these are some examples of natural vegetative propagation. In this case, we don't make use of artificial. Artificial way is not there in the case of these, and artificial could be grafting, that is in the case of mango, cutting is in the case of rose, and layering is in the case of jasmine. So you must know some examples under artificial as well as under natural method. Now we need to see what are the benefits of vegetative propagation. So in vegetative propagation, plants can bear flowers, fruits earlier than those produced from seeds. So very quick process you can write. Quick process to have fruits and flowers. Second is, like as you know that bananas, orange, rose, jasmine have lost the capacity to produce seeds, so therefore they use vegetative propagation in the case of bananas, orange, rose and jasmine. Now third one, in the second one you can write beneficial in the case of non-bearing seed plants. The third one, genetical similarity is maintained in the plants. So genetically they are very similar to their parent plants. So genetic similarity is there. The fourth one helps in growing seedless fruits. The fifth one, cheaper and easier method of growing plants. So in the fifth one, you can write cheaper and easier method of growing plants. In the second video, I will cover about sexual reproduction in plants and human beings. So thank you for watching this video. Have a great day.